to this episode of the Lehigh Valley with Love podcast. I'm your co-host for today. Our other co-host, Abby Stout, will be introing this podcast and taking it from there, but I had a couple notes. We want to make sure that you visit thevelodrome.com for more information on USA Cycling Nationals that are taking place July 27th to July 31st at the Velodrome in Breinigsville. We were so lucky to get to record this episode on site with 22-time national champion, who probably wins some more this weekend, Mandy Marquardt. We want you guys to go out and support her and the other athletes that are participating in nationals. And thank you to our sponsors, made possible in the Lehigh Valley. The Lehigh Valley is rich with possibilities, a proud heritage, and bright future that has long attracted makers, innovators, and those with great vision. Everything you need to create the life you want on your terms, vibrant downtowns, charming main streets with surprises around every corner, and lots of open places to explore, live, work, learn, play, discover all that's made possible in the Lehigh Valley at LehighValleyMadePossible.com. Also, Molly's Irish Grill and Sports Pub, of course, and Michael Bernardin with Remax. Find Mike and you're going to find your next dream home. And now I'm going to turn it over to our summer intern from Bloomsburg University, Abby Stout.
Hi, and welcome to this episode of the Lehigh Valley with Love podcast. I'm Abby Stout. I'm co-host on this episode and Lehigh Valley with Love intern. This episode is super exciting because we got to record on site at the Valley Preferred Cycling Center in Breinigsville with 22 times national champion Mandy Marquardt. I hope you enjoy.
Okay, so we're here at the Valley Preferred Cycling Center in Breinigsville. It's beautiful. Thank you so much for Mandy for coming on and being with us today. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? I wanted to start out. The first thing Abby and I both noticed when we came here was the motorcycle. Is that a regular type training that you guys do?
Yeah, George, it's awesome to be here, to have a facility outside here in Breinigsville. We call it T-Town actually, but the motorcycle can be used for a variety of purposes. Training, for training I use it as a sprint track cyclist. To bring me up to speed and then drop me off, and then from there I do my effort. So it kind of helps be like a little bit of a aerodynamic shield to help me, get up to speed.
And I bet that's one of the best jobs here.
It's so much fun. My coach will just, after we do an effort, he'll just go around and take a quick lap. But in racing we have Kieran, and that's where the motor does 3 laps and then pulls off, and then it's just pretty much a drag race. First person to cross the line wins. So it brings you up to speed. So that's pretty much what the motor does. And
how did you get into cycling at all? Or what was your first memory of a bicycle? How did you think, wow, this is something that I really enjoy and I'm going to continue to do?
Well, I grew up in Florida. So I was born in Germany, and I moved to Florida and I was about 6, 7 years old. My dad's German, my mom's American, so she's originally from Florida. And they just wanted me to be active and get outside instead of sitting at home watching TV. So they got me into swimming and tennis, and I was doing that. And I really wanted to be a professional tennis player, but at a really young age, I had a stress fracture in my foot, and kind of just led me to running before school with my dad and doing 5Ks. And already I was swimming, so it just kind of made sense to do triathlons possibly. And I was like, this sounds
How
cool.
old were you at this point?
I was 10.
Okay, what?
Yeah, I was.
No, I mean, so you must have had a supportive family who's athletic and into that world.
Very, yeah. My dad would wake up before school with me and go run, and I would see teachers also before school. And so I was just kind of, always known as this athlete. I just thought it was just, I don't know, it brought me a lot of happiness and gave me structure at a really young age.
Yeah, I was curious about going from regular biking. How do you get into the speed and the sprinting? Because it feels like you really need the specialized track to get into it.
Well, so when I stopped playing tennis and everything, I found, my parents found the Velodrome, which was in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and 15 minutes from our home, which is the only velodrome in Florida. Right. And it was just a safe place first for me to learn how to ride competitively, and then I learned from there. I started joining group rides and really just making it kind of something that I really wanted to focus on, even though I still did triathlons. But I did endurance cycling for a really long time. So the track is both endurance and sprint. but it wasn't until probably 2013 that I focused on track sprint cycling specifically. There's a lot more power development, explosive development that goes into it versus doing really long rides, and just my body type favored that more. So yeah, I've had a pretty successful career so far. There's still a lot that I want to accomplish and do, but yeah, I think it's fun to be able to go really fast instead of riding my bike for 4 or 5 hours. I mean, that favors some people, but yeah, I just like how awesome to be able to race here in the summer.
I mean, it's a lot like long distance running, and we know that, and the 100-meter dash, kind of is that a little bit of a, I mean, I know it's not a perfect analogy, but kind of, you have the longer distance and then the shorter one, so it's a little bit more, faster twitch.
Yeah, exactly. So I let people know it's kind of similar to track and field. Like, we're the sprinters, we train just as hard, even though our races are really short, but yeah, exactly. So a lot of my training is on the Velodrome, in the gym. I work with St. Luke's too. Yep. So it's just going to have that community, that support, to be able to, this is my home, and then to compete outside in like LA and then also outside the country.
How early on then did you know that you wanted to start training for the Olympics?
It wasn't really a focus of mine when I was younger. It was just kind of getting to compete and travel. Like, I always thought the bike was super cool because I could just ride away and no one could talk to me and tell me what to do. Like, when I used to play tennis, it just felt like everybody was just always watching you. But I love the bike. I got to see the world really young, got to travel. So when I was 16, I moved back to Germany to live with my father, and that's where I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and that's kind of where my whole world kind of changed. And I wasn't sprinting then, but yeah, I mean, I didn't really know that I wanted the Olympics to be a goal. I just kind of really enjoyed racing and competing at an international level, but I didn't really know how to get to the Olympics. And it wasn't until like coming here and like going to school that I really started to see it be more of a vision. In terms of Lehigh Valley, I mean, you're talking about traveling the world, being in Florida to be on your first Velodrome. How do you wind up in the Lehigh Valley? How do you wind up in T-Town? Yeah, so when I was younger, I'd always come up here to race. I actually raced here when I was about 11 years old. And then I also, when I was 16, I did nationals that was here. And then when I was in Florida, because after my diagnosis, I was like, I want to go back to Florida. I want to go finish my last year of high school. And then I was kind of figuring out what was next. I didn't want to go to high school in Florida and see the same people. And I wanted to be in an environment that really had a good cycling community. And so I was between like Boulder, Colorado, or here. And yeah, I just found here to be a great fit with Penn State Lehigh Valley. And I lived at the Autumn Park Apartments right here on my own, like 18. I just kind of got really independent. And I've always just been pretty independent since I was young. But my parents were just really supportive. There are people in the Lehigh Valley who don't realize how big of a deal having a velodrome is, or how rare, I guess, they are. Can you talk about that a little bit? Like, how special is this place? It's very special to have a velodrome here. This brings in riders from around the world. We just had Olympic champions, world champions. We just had a really big month of racing here in June. We're very fortunate that Bob Rodale saw a vision, and people in the community are continuing to maintain this facility. It's really important. This is where I train when it's not snowing. And this is just a great feeling to have somewhere safe to ride and get in really good training, but also it just brings in a sense of community for young kids too, learning how to ride and be competitive. And I think that's where it begins, a lot of the community programs and teaching kids bike safety, confidence on a bike. I wish more velodromes did exist. I feel like one day an indoor velodrome could exist here and could bring in even more international racing in the fall and winter months, because I think we're definitely known as the bicycle capital racing of the world. And it's wild, so cool. Right? Yeah. Yeah. And it's almost, and there's still room to grow. There is. And that's why I say it's a shame when there's some people who don't know about it. But when they see it, they're like, it's amazing. And people can come ride really whenever. Just look on the Velodrome calendar. Obviously there's motor pace sessions where this is a closed session, but on like Sundays or like really early in the mornings or something, there's times where people can just kind of ride around if they want. in their own discretion.
How did you get involved with Team Nordisk to start with?
So I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at age 16, kind of moved back to Florida, wanted to figure things out aside from school. Okay, what was my cycling career going to be? And I also just knew that it would bring me up here, but what can I do? What more can I do with school and racing? And so Team Novo Nordisk gave me that outlet and opportunity to also race criteriums all over the states. We got to travel from Tulsa, Oklahoma to Wisconsin, so it was just cool to be part of a team. Everybody who has type 1 diabetes was racing together.
Right, and everyone on your team has type 1 diabetes.
Yeah, so our mission this year is driving change, so we're not only inspiring people affected by diabetes, but also to live a healthy, active lifestyle, because that's really important to us too, to be able to manage our diabetes, and exercise is a big component of that. And so, yeah, we're all living with type 1 diabetes, and our mission is to inspire, educate, and empower everyone affected by diabetes.
And I would imagine too, like the advocacy part of that as well is great. You being able to bring more of that awareness when you're out as well.
Yeah, I was able to early on my diagnosis go to schools and hospitals and share my story, which was really nerve-wracking because it was just around my diagnosis, and I would just cry and leave because it was really overwhelming, just because it was like just a fresh wound still. But I've over time learned how important it is just to share your story and talk about it, because you could see kids light up, and they're always saying that they would be hiding their devices, but I always say, use it as kind of this motivation, this outlet to inspire and educate people as well, because you have a platform, you have a voice, and that's where it kind of starts with, is that stigma, ending that stigma that diabetes isn't cool. Yes, there's type 1 and type 2. No, there's no one better than the other. It's just there's education behind it, and with type 1, my pancreas does not function, so it's kind of one of those things that I have to take responsibility of at a really young age, and seeing young kids do that with their gadgets and snacks, like it's a cool outlet to be able to talk about, and going through something gives you a lot of confidence and just discipline in a lot of areas.
You've done a lot of races. Which one has been like your favorite event so far that you've raced in?
I really love all the races here because it's like right at home, but really just because it brings in such a big crowd. And every year so far, they've done a season opener, which would have like fireworks and everything. But it's a whole month of UCI racing that we just finished here, which means that we all are competing for international points that qualify us for World Cups and World Championships. And so those are really important. It's great to have that international competition from New Zealand and Australia, Jamaica, like all these different countries come here, and we're battling for points. And so this is probably my favorite place.
And do you have a specific track event that you enjoy? Because I know that there's different, just like the 100-meter, 200-meter sprints and all that. Are there maybe one or two that you really enjoy? Yeah, so there are 4 sprint events, and there are so 3 of them are Olympic events. So one of them is an Olympic event. They have them at World Championships, national events. But there's the sprint that I really like. It's a 200-meter qualification. So you ride on the rail here, and you wind up, and the 200-meter time starts where that cone is and then ends at the finish line. So it's kind of like that 200-meter dash, but then from there you're racing one-on-one against people, so your qualification time is really important, because if you qualify really high, then you have easier sprint rounds. You bracket through kind of like March Madness. Gotcha. So those are fun because it's very tactical. You travel all over. Where are some other velodromes besides Florida? In the States? Yeah. So the active velodromes, really, there's only a few active velodromes. In Washington, in Los Angeles, California, and Florida a little bit, and up here really. So Rock Hill, South Carolina, but there's not as many active velodromes. Right, which again is a shame. I know, we only have one indoor facility in the United States, where if you go to Australia, Great Britain, other countries, they have maybe 4 or 5 velodromes in every one of their state territories. Why is it? Because cycling is really popular in the United States. Is it just that the Velodrome type isn't becoming or hasn't become that? Because I know there's a lot of long distance cyclists, and we were talking your family is really into cycling.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? I don't know.
I think it's exposure, really. So people come here, they love it, and they get to ride. But there's also more. There's an indoor velodrome, and that's important because you can ride year-round. Right. But it also takes a lot of funding to maintain the velodrome, build the velodrome. So they've had some success in trying to pull some investors in the tri-state area. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, nothing has come through. I know back a couple years ago, Mayor Nutter was trying to make something happen in Philly. I'd love to see it happen someday. I think it's really important, even though they're in close proximity to each other. I think this is a great place to learn how to ride the velodrome for young kids, to race, to be outdoors, but also then to bring in international competition right here in the area or the tri-state area. We have, Newark, everybody can fly into, but it just takes exposure.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to have other places have them too, but not really. Like, I'd like to keep our, no, I mean,
Well, I'd rather have a couple more velodromes than warehouses, so. I mean, we don't have to go down that line, but yeah, I would love to see more infrastructure for sports facilities and places where people can be in the winter and ride and really continue their development and or even just enjoy the sport.
Of stuff you've experienced in Lehigh Valley while living here, do you have what's your favorite place to go? But I mean, besides the velodrome, we can't use that.
Yeah, so I really love all the covered bridge parks. I think they're great. We have 2 dogs, my fiance and I, and we love going to the park. When I'm not training, and I'm actually pursuing my MBA right now, so I'm really busy, but when I'm not, to enjoy time with family and to be outside. Yeah, I mean, other than that, it's eating, right? I love going to a lot of the good restaurants around here.
Do you have a favorite one?
I have a couple. I love Curious Goods in Germansville.
Okay.
The Shelby, I just love to go to.
It's like the ambiance there. It's just.
Yeah,
great.
It's a really good vibe. Ashley Kimmett, one of the owners, her husband is the owner, and yeah, she used to race here at the Velodrome, so it's really cool.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's really cool. It's small world, but also Tapas on Main, Oak. If any of those restaurants that I've named, want to come out to the Velodrome and sponsor me with some food, I'm up for it.
We can pass that along. I know Tapas a little bit.
I love Tapas.
Yeah, we live in, my wife and I live in Bethlehem, and we love all those restaurants.
I just love the vibe because my fiance and I would travel to Philly to get really good food back when we lived in the apartments here, but now with all the restaurants. Sure. Oh, and Savory Grill, also one of the best restaurants because they're just consistent.
You can throw more out there, and whichever one comes up, and they'll hit you back.
I have my list of restaurants that I like to hit up every couple of months. Yeah.
If anybody's working up an appetite in the Lehigh Valley, I would imagine it would be you.
Yes.
Anybody here?
Yeah, I'm not riding.
Besides that guy.
Yeah.
He's just riding around.
It still takes some work, eating some snacks. Maybe he'll grab a honey stinger. That's also a great partnership that I have is Honey Stinger. So they're right here at Factory in Bethlehem. They partly own Honey Stinger. So Rich Thompson is the CEO there, and he's now, I believe, the CEO of Honey Stinger as well. So we're pretty lucky right here.
Yeah, to have support like that is fantastic.
Do you have anything coming up this summer that you're just really excited about?
Yeah, a few things on and off the bike. So a couple events with St. Luke's. So I am a community ambassador for St. Luke's University Health Network here. Really grateful for their partnership and belief with doing things in the diabetes community together. And also nationals we have coming up. And we hope to have a lot of people come cheer us on because we have the best here in the United States competing right here in T-Town. So hopefully we get a good crowd.
What are the dates for nationals?
It's July 26th to August 1st. And I'm competing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. So unfortunately not Saturday, which is strange why we don't have a sprint event on Saturday. But I'm going to try to...
You know some people here.
I do, yeah. It's been on my to-do list to ask, can we bring in some really good racing on Saturday too? Can we move the schedule around? So yeah, but the whole week, the schedule will be posted on the Velodrome website and Instagram. So also I have my wedding coming up in school.
That's kind of important as well.
Yeah.
And your MBA you had mentioned.
And my MBA. And so also potentially the Pan American Championships. It's still a question mark if that counts toward the next Olympic qualification cycle, which starts in 2023, but this Pan Am's might count, which is in Lima, Peru. So I'm still waiting on details on that, but definitely the World Championships. So I have a lot of things coming up to get ready for the next Olympic cycle.
Thank you for taking time out of your super busy schedule to spend some time with us. We're looking forward to nationals. We've got to get out here. It's just, I'm sure like under the lights out here too must be amazing when there's like races going down to the wire. So it's really exciting to have this in the Lehigh Valley.
Yeah, it's great when people bang on the boards or stomp on the bleachers and lights are on. It's such a great vibe, and it's just something that I'll definitely miss someday in my career, but I'll always come out and support, the Velodrome and the riders. I think it's important that a crowd continues to show up just because that really inspires us to go fast, and to have that home crowd support is really important. We go to the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs and some other community events.
You know what? There was one thing I was going to
Cycling
mention.
is just as cool.
I
we
was
have
there
food
the
here.
night you threw out the pitch.
Oh, okay.
We were there that day, and I emailed her. So it was just, it's a small, large area, the Lehigh Valley. It feels like you could be, there's a million people, give or take here, but it does. I could see you at Tapazon, Maine, and be like, what? You were in the same place. And it's wild that way.
Yeah, and exactly. There's food here as well. Speaking of food, I never get away from it. But there's food here. The Sticky Pig has their food truck. I think on Tuesdays they do food truck festivals here. Yep. So that's been really great. I know on Saturdays they do a farmer's market. So even not just cycling, there's a lot of other things that bring people here. And the Rodale Park's right across the street. So it's great. I love it. I live only a couple miles away, and I spend so much time here.
Well, no, thank you for eating your way through the Lehigh Valley, but also for being, somebody who's really a champion of it, and we're proud to have you here. Seriously, it's awesome that we have somebody who's so decorated, loving, the Lehigh Valley as much as we do.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing my story and the positive message around diabetes and everything. I think. And
where can people find out more information about you directly and your mission and Team Novo Nordisk?
So I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, but really active on Instagram. You can engage with me there. I also have my website. I actually have my own logo. It's actually over there next to the T-Town sign. It says the MM.
See it.
So it means we're greater than our highs and lows, kind of like a diabetes pun, because our blood sugars can fluctuate. But yeah, that's for me a way to kind of give back to the community and connect with people with diabetes worldwide. So I also have a little shop if people want us to go support that, and just stay connected. And what I'm doing is just throughout my social media and website.
On behalf of both of us, thank you so much. We appreciate it, and good luck with everything. We'll be sure in our podcast, and anybody watching the video, please check out the notes, and all the links are in there that you just mentioned, and we appreciate it. And best of luck in everything that's coming up this summer and beyond.
Thank you. We'll see you at the Velodrome.
All right.
So Mandy, can you tell us a little bit about your bike?
Yes, I absolutely love my track bike. It has no brakes. So how you brake is by putting pressure on the pedal. So as it's going around, you put backward pressure, and you start to kind of slow down. And also it's a fixed gear bike, so that means there's only one chainring and one cog, and so I have to be my own mechanic, and I have to make sure my wheel's straight and the chain tension is good. My feet are strapped in as a sprinter. I put a lot of power down, so I don't want to clip out. It's a very aerodynamic position. It's a very aggressive position. I'm very not very upright. I'm very just aero. I try to be tucked like a ball, kind of. It's for us, it's about hundredths of a second to winning races and losing races. So yeah, a lot goes into it. It's a pretty light bike too. I'll let you pick it up.
Okay. How much? Oh my God.
How much
right?
How much? What is it?
Less than my cat.
I love that. Yeah, so I'd say about, 12 pounds, maybe less. But I have a bike computer here. It's a power meter. This bike was given to me by the national team, so we have a great partnership with Look through the LA 2028 games, which is really awesome. So
And what's your top speed on that?
I've reached speed, so behind the motorcycle, I'm definitely faster because I have a draft.
Yeah.
But indoors, it's about 80K. Out here, it's probably around 70, so 45 miles to 50 miles an hour.
Wow.
On my own, I can hit about 42, 43 miles an hour, maybe a little give or take more. But yeah, we hit that top speed and we train really hard to be able to maintain it, but also hit peak power. And a lot of it is just nailing our move at the right time, just so that we're getting to the line and winning the races.
All right.
But everything counts in the sport.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Lehigh Valley with Love podcast. I wanted to thank again from all of us, Mandy, for taking the time out of her busy schedule to talk with us. If you're interested in checking out more about her, you can find more information and her socials at mandymarquardt.com. That's MandyMarquardt.com. Until the next episode.